My wife looked me dead in the eyes over dinner and said, "From now on, my income is mine, and you take care of your share." I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just nodded. And at the end of the month, I split every single household bill in half, down to the last penny. She broke down in 9 days. But what she didn't know was that her share included a lot more than she ever imagined. And when the first bill landed on the kitchen table, the look on her face told me everything I needed to know. My name is Ethan. I am 34. I am a senior software engineer at a tech company in Austin, Texas. I make about $145,000 a year. My wife Nicole is 31, a marketing manager, pulling in around $78,000. We have been married for 6 years. We have a daughter named Lily. She is 4. She is the best thing in my life. Now, here is the thing you need to understand. Since day one of this marriage, I have paid for everything, and I mean everything. The mortgage, $2,800 a month. Property tax, $450. Home insurance, $180. Car insurance for both our cars, $320. Utilities, electric, water, gas, internet, another $380. Groceries for the whole family, $900. Lily's daycare, and this one kills me, $1,400 a month. Her medical bills, dental checkups, about $200. Home repairs and maintenance, roughly $300. And the date nights and restaurants that Nicole always insisted on, another $400 a month. You want the total, $7,330. Every single month, out of my pocket. For 6 years. For 6 years, Nicole paid her phone bill and maybe grabbed groceries. Everything else, her money. Spa days, Sephora hauls, brunches, weekend trips, all funded by the fact that I covered the entire household without complaint. I thought that is what love looked like. I was wrong. One Friday after dinner with her friends, especially twice divorced, Megan Trask Nicole came home with a script. Her income was hers, and paying the bills was my duty as a husband. I agreed, 50-50, fair and square. She smiled, thinking nothing would change. That night, I ran the numbers. Her half of our monthly expenses came to $3,665. Out of her $4,800 take-home pay, that would leave just $1,135 for everything else. No more luxury routines on my dime. I printed the spreadsheet and left it by her coffee. The color drained from her face. "I cannot afford this, funny," I said. "I have been affording the full $7,330 for 6 years." She called Megan on speaker. Megan insisted a real man pays the bills until I calmly repeated her own empowerment logic back to her. Silence. Then a click. Her mother called next, accusing me of punishment. I corrected her. Punishment would be back pay. This was equality. Nicole refused to pay, so I stopped playing provider. I canceled her card on my account, split the groceries, drew the line, and that is when the real fallout began. On Wednesday, I emailed Lily's daycare and split next month's tuition down the middle, half from me, half from Nicole. When she found out, she exploded, accusing me of letting our daughter suffer. I stayed calm. Lily has 2 parents and 2 incomes, unless Nicole thought only one of us should pay. For the first time in 6 years, she had nothing to say. 9 days later, while she was sipping mimosas and shopping with Megan at the Galleria, hashtagging self-care, her card declined. I had canceled the one I was funding. "Use your own income," I told her. She didn't have enough. In the background, Megan pushed her toward divorce alimony, the house, the works. But this time, Nicole hesitated. That pause was the first crack in her certainty. That night, I found her at the table. Bank statements open, face drained of color. $3,200 a month on shopping, brunches, subscriptions, even a $180 candle club, because for 6 years, my paycheck carried the family while hers funded a lifestyle. She had never had to choose. I always said yes. We didn't speak for 3 days. On the 4th, just after midnight, she came downstairs with red eyes and a voice I barely recognized. "Ethan, I think I messed up. And not just about the money." What she confessed next made everything before it feel like the calm before a storm update. A few days later, so after my last post blew up, a lot of you asked what Nicole said on day 4, what she confessed to at midnight standing at the bottom of the stairs. Here is what happened. She didn't apologize. She didn't take responsibility. She brought backup. Her mother showed up at our house the very next afternoon with a full suitcase and an attitude like she was checking into a hotel. And that is when things went from bad to nuclear. But before I get into that, let me rewind to what actually happened at midnight. Because what Nicole said that night wasn't a confession, it was a setup, and I walked right into it. So there she was, standing at the bottom of the stairs at midnight, red eyes, shaking hands, voice so small I barely recognized it. She said, "Ethan, I think I messed up, and not just about the money." I sat up on the couch. I didn't say anything. I just waited. Because after 6 years of being the one who always spoke first, always fixed things first, always apologized first, even when I did nothing wrong, I was done going first. She sat down across from me and started talking. She told me she had been unhappy, that she felt like she was losing herself in the marriage, that Megan and the girls had opened her eyes to how financially trapped she was, that she needed independence, that she needed to feel like her own person again. And here is the part that got me. She cried, real tears, and she said, "I don't want to lose you, but I need you to go back to how things were. Please. I will do better. I will appreciate you more. Just go back to handling everything. I cannot do this. You hear that?" She didn't say, "Let me pay my fair share." She didn't say, "Let's figure this out together." She said, "Go back to handling everything." That wasn't a confession. That was a negotiation. She wanted me to feel guilty enough to reset the system, to absorb the cost of her comfort again, to swallow my self-respect and call it love. I looked at her and said, "Number 1 word." She stared at me like I had slapped her. Then she got up, went to bed, and the next morning, she made a phone call. I didn't know it then, but that phone call changed everything. I got home from work around 5:30 the next day. I opened the front door and immediately felt something wrong. There were shoes by the entrance that weren't ours, a coat on the rack I didn't recognize, and then I heard it. Diane Harper's voice, echoing from the living room, like she owned the place. I walked in, there she was, Diane, sitting on my couch, legs crossed, cup of tea in hand, suitcase parked by the hallway like she was moving in. Nicole sat next to her, arms folded, chin up, looking at me like they had already won whatever this was. "Nicole," I said slowly, "why is your mother in my living room with a suitcase?" "Our living room," Nicole corrected me sharply, "and she is here to help us talk. Since you will not listen to me, maybe you will listen to someone with experience." Diane set her tea down with that cool, calculated calm, and told me to sit so she could explain how marriage really works. A real husband provides. A real man doesn't nickel and dime. I was destroying my family over a spreadsheet. I let her finish. Then I asked one question. How much alimony did she collect after divorcing her ex for not providing enough? The air left the room. Suddenly, her finances were none of my business. But mine were. Nicole snapped that this was about us. I told her to send her mother home, then we had talk. She didn't move. That is when I saw it. 2 against 1, guilt as a strategy. What they didn't know, I wasn't alone. At 6:15 sharp, the doorbell rang. My brother Connor, fresh out of law school, sharp as a blade, walked in with a thick manila folder. He took a seat like this was a board meeting. "I am here as Ethan's brother," he said calmly. "But since we are talking about fairness, I brought some numbers." And just like that, the room shifted. Connor laid the numbers out like a courtroom exhibit. In 6 years, Ethan paid roughly $527,000 in household expenses. He said, "Nicole, about $38,000. That is a 93/7 split." Then came the knockout punch. While I covered every bill, Nicole spent $230,000 on herself shopping, spas, trips, subscriptions, fully funded by the safety net I provided. She had had total financial independence for 6 years. Now that I wanted equality, She was calling it abuse. The silence was brutal. Diane finally turned to her daughter. "You spent $230,000 on yourself?" Nicole scrambled gifts, bracelets, spa weekends, but Connor cut in. None of it existed without the $7,330 a month I carried alone. And then the unthinkable happened. "Nicole, listen to your husband." Diane packed her suitcase, leaned toward me, and whispered, "She gets this from her father." Then she walked out, leaving Nicole standing there like her last defense had just surrendered. After that, Nicole started paying, slamming her phone down each month, like the transfer physically hurt. The Starbucks runs stopped. The spa days vanished. Coupons replaced brunch, and every day came with a bitter, "Happy now. You are living like a partner," I told her, "not a prisoner." But 2 weeks in, Lily's daycare called. Nicole's half hadn't been paid. Not late, just never sent. When I confronted her, she didn't even look up. A mother shouldn't have to pay for childcare. That is what fathers do. I stared at her, realizing this was never about fairness. And that is when I understood this fight wasn't about money anymore. That is when it finally clicked. Nicole never wanted equality. She wanted freedom without responsibility. Independence when it benefited her. Dependence when it cost her. I paid Lily's daycare in full because my daughter would never suffer for her mother's pride. But I documented everything. Every refusal. Every excuse. Then Tuesday night changed everything. Nicole was in the shower. Her iPad sat unlocked on the counter. I wasn't snooping until I saw a banking app I didn't recognize. Not our joint account. Not her usual one. A secret savings account at another bank. Balance $22,000. She had been quietly transferring money for 8 months. $500. $800 at a time, building her safety net while I covered every bill. But that wasn't the worst part. Venmo showed payments to someone labeled "Only Our Dinner." Weekend. Hotel split. Heart emojis. $3,400 over 4 months. I didn't confront her. I screenshotted everything, sent it to my phone, and walked out like nothing happened. That night, she kissed me goodnight. I smiled. Because when you are collecting evidence, you smile. At 1 a.m., I sent it all to Connor. At 2:13 a.m., he replied, "I found out who R is. You need to sit down for this." I was already sitting, I just wasn't ready for what came next. Update 2, the secret account wasn't a safety net. It was an escape plan. I need to start this update with something important. I am okay. A lot of you sent messages after the last post. Some of you even shared your own stories. I read every single one, and I appreciate it more than you know. But I need you to understand what I am about to tell you. Because when Connor showed me who R was, my world didn't just crack. It shattered into pieces I am still stepping on. And the worst part, the person who broke it was sleeping next to me every night, kissing me on the forehead, calling me babe, while sending heart emojis to someone else on the app she hid behind a banking screen. This is the update where everything changes. And I mean everything. The morning after Connor's text, I drove to a coffee shop on the east side of Austin, a place neither of us had ever been to. I didn't want to risk anyone seeing us. Connor was already there when I arrived, sitting in the corner booth with his laptop open and his phone face down on the table. He didn't say hello. He didn't make small talk. He just looked at me and said, "Sit down." Connor slid his phone across the table. On the screen, Ryan Mercer, marketing director. At Nicole's company, my stomach dropped. Screenshot after screenshot told the story. A candlelit dinner, Nicole in the same green silk blouse she wore the night of her team building event. Venmo payments, dinner, hotel split, heart emojis. Dates that matched her late nights and wellness retreats. An Airbnb on the river walk in San Antonio booked 3 times in 4 months. Every trip had a lie attached to it. Connor asked what I wanted to do. I took a sip of cold coffee and gave him the only answer that made sense. The math. No confrontation, no explosion, just strategy. I hired a divorce attorney in Austin, Margaret Chen. She listened, then laid it out clean. The secret $22,000 account. The affair funded with marital money. 6 years of a 93/7 financial split. In Texas, that mattered a lot. Her advice: act normal, gather everything, wait. So for 2 weeks, I became the perfect husband. I cooked. I smiled. I kissed her goodnight. And after she fell asleep, I saved evidence, one file, one transaction, one lie at a time. Then Wednesday came. Nicole mentioned another work conference in San Antonio, Friday to Sunday. San Antonio again. I didn't flinch. Have fun, I said. She studied me, then kissed my forehead. I love you, I smiled back. I love you too. The worst part? I still loved her, even knowing everything. But love doesn't erase lies. It doesn't undo betrayal, and it definitely doesn't refund the $3,400 she Venmo with the man she was sleeping with, while I stayed home reading bedtime stories. That forehead kiss felt like a goodbye she hadn't written yet, so I wrote mine. Friday, at 2 p.m., Nicole left for San Antonio. She waved from the driveway. I waved back. The second her taillights disappeared, I moved. I had already rented a 2-bedroom apartment, 15 minutes away, playground in view. Lily's room was ready. Purple walls, stuffed elephant on the pillow, safe. That night, I packed everything that mattered: my clothes, documents, Lily's things, her medical records, the family photos I couldn't leave behind. I emptied my office, took the birthday picture off the wall. I left every single thing that belonged to Nicole untouched. I didn't want her to notice what was taken. I wanted her to notice who was gone. When I picked Lily up, she squeezed my hand and asked, "Daddy, are we going on an adventure?" "Yeah, baby," I said. "The best kind." By Saturday, the divorce petition was filed. Sunday at 7:42 p.m., Nicole called. Frantic. My office was empty. Lily's room was empty. "Where is Lily?" "She is safe with me." "Lawyer. Why do you need a lawyer?" I kept my voice calm. "How was San Antonio?" "Fine." The conference was "How was Ryan?" Silence, 10 full seconds of it. "Room 412. I said. "The Airbnb on River Walk. 3 bookings, $3,400 in Venmo. Dinner, weekend, the heart emojis. I have the receipts. So does my lawyer." She broke down, scrambling for words. "It is not what you think it is. Exactly what I think," I said. "Good night, Nicole," and I hung up. My hand was steady. My voice was steady. But inside, the part of me that still loved the woman I married, the girl I slow danced with to Sam Cooke, was screaming. I buried it. Because if I went back, I would teach Lily that love means letting someone destroy you. Within an hour, my phone exploded. 11 calls from Nicole, 4 voicemails crying, then screaming. Diane called too, saying, "We can fix this as a family." No, we couldn't. Not after Nicole used money I earned to book romantic weekends with another man, while I stayed home raising our daughter. Then Megan went public on Facebook, painting me as the insecure husband who couldn't handle a strong, independent woman. Connor fired back with one line: "Some strong women cannot handle splitting the bills or staying faithful." Number receipts. The internet did the rest: likes, comments, screenshots. By midnight, her narrative was ashes. That night, in my new apartment, Lily asleep beside her stuffed elephant, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: peace. Not the silence of avoidance, the silence of choosing yourself. But Nicole didn't beg. She lawyered up. Full custody, $4,000 a month in alimony. Half my 400 in wonk, and she is claiming I abandoned the family. Me, the one who paid for everything, the one who stayed home every weekend she was away, the one who never missed a bedtime story. Now I am the villain. And the final chapter. It is coming. Final update: she showed up at my door with divorce papers. But she wasn't the one filing. 3 weeks. That is how long it took for everything to fall apart and rebuild itself into something I didn't recognize. Nicole didn't beg. She didn't cry at my door. She didn't send 100 texts begging me to come home. She did something far worse. She tried to beat me to the courthouse. She hired a lawyer, flipped the entire story, painted herself as the victim, and demanded full custody of our daughter, $4,000 a month in alimony, and half my retirement. But she forgot one thing: I had already been there, and the folder I filed was thicker than hers. 5 days after I moved out, a letter arrived at my new apartment. Certified mail. I opened it at the kitchen table while Lily ate her cereal. It was from the law office of Whitfield and Associates, representing Nicole Caldwell, N.E. Harper, in the matter of dissolution of marriage. I read it slowly. Every line felt like a punch thrown by someone who thought I was still standing still. Nicole was requesting full physical and legal custody of Lily. She claimed I had abandoned the family home without notice and created an unstable environment for our minor child. She was demanding $4,000 per month in spousal support, citing my significantly higher income and her limited financial independence due to years of financial control by the respondent. She wanted a 50-50th split of all marital assets, including my 401k, my savings account, and the equity in the house that I had paid the mortgage on alone for 6 years. And the grounds abandonment and financial abuse me, the guy who paid $527,000 in household bills, the guy who stayed home with Lily every weekend while his wife was in a San Antonio Airbnb with her coworker, the guy who never missed a single bedtime story. I was being accused of abandonment and financial abuse. I read it twice. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she still didn't understand. She was playing checkers. I had been playing chess for 2 months. I called Margaret Chen. She wasn't surprised. I expected this, she said. Let me tell you something about family law in Texas. The person who files first doesn't win. The person with better evidence does, and we had the evidence. All of it. Margaret didn't send a reply. She sent a 47-page package, tabbed, color-coded, Exhibits A through M, 6 years of bank statements, proving a 93/7 split, the hidden $22,000 account, $3,400 in Venmo payments to Ryan Mercer dinner, hotel split, heart emojis included, 3 Airbnb bookings in San Antonio matching her fake conferences, Instagram screenshots, texts from Megan telling her to hide money and have an exit strategy, daycare records where Nicole refused to pay, saying, "A mother shouldn't have to pay," and $230,000 in personal spending funded entirely by me. Margaret closed with one line. Nicole's claims of abandonment and abuse weren't just unsupported, they were contradicted. Nicole's lawyer received it Thursday. By Friday, she fired him. She didn't hire another. Then everything unraveled. Ryan vanished the moment the evidence surfaced, blocked her everywhere. Turns out he had been living with his girlfriend, Tessa, for 2 years. Nicole wasn't his future, just a secret. Megan's circle crumbled. One friend even offered to testify for me. Diane read the file and called days later, her voice broken. I raised her to expect everything and offer nothing. This is what it cost. Then, 2 weeks later, 11 p.m. 3 soft knocks at my door. Nicole stood there, thinner, exhausted, stripped of ego. No demands, no theatrics. "I am not here to fight," she said. "I know what I did, all of it." She admitted the money, Ryan, listening to Megan, turning me into a paycheck instead of a partner. She said she lost herself chasing something she didn't need. I listened. "You are right," I told her quietly. "I deserve to hear it, but hearing it doesn't undo it." And in that silence, we both understood some lines. Once crossed, don't lead back home. "I know," she whispered, and placed our house key on the table. She was moving back in with her mom. "The house was mine," she said. "It always had been." She had told her lawyer to drop everything. I could set the terms. She just wanted to see Lily. "She is your daughter," I told her. "That will never change." Nicole left quietly. That soft click of the door closing was louder than any fight we had ever had. I sat on the floor for a long time, not celebrating, not grieving, just existing. Then Lily padded down the hallway in her pajamas and climbed into my lap. "I am lucky too, Daddy," she said. And just like that, I knew what I had fought for. The divorce finalized in August, no trial. I kept the house. Shared custody Lily with me 5 days a week. No alimony. The adultery. The hidden $22,000 account. The 6-year 93/7 split, none of it helped Nicole's case. She kept the secret savings. It was gone in 2 months. She moved in with Diane, started real therapy, and cut Megan off for good. I got promoted, senior staff engineer, more stability, more peace. Now Lily and I make homemade pizza every Friday. She falls asleep on my chest, and I carry her to bed. Those quiet breaths? That is what mattered. Not the money, not the house. Do I regret the spreadsheet, the 50/50ths, the lawyer? I regret the 6 years I confused love with self-erasure. She said her money was hers. I agreed. And in doing that, I realized something she never expected: my peace was mine too. This is the end of that marriage, and the beginning of my life.